I'm Viktor Trón. I'm originally from Hungary. I had been living in London for a few years when I came across Ethereum. I had already been for quite a while in the Bitcoin space. I'd been mining myself and a bit of hacking around stuff. But I'm coming from my career hat is more like into computational linguistics, AI, machine learning, like generic computing. I was working for the BBC at the time, and when I heard like Gavin Wood is giving a talk about Ethereum at a Coin Scrum meetup, and that was just basically a month after Vitalik announced the white paper in Miami. So it was really probably one of the first public presentations about Ethereum, and I happened to have a chance to go there in Hoxton Square, London, and I was absolutely blown by the prospect. I immediately understood the consequences of if it's possible. But of course I kind of smiled like, it's a great project. Obviously it cannot work, so it's like, I thought it's like great ambitions. And then when I delved into it like more and more, and like I talked to Gavin, I actually had my first contribution to the C++ code, which happened to be my first and last contribution of the one-liner to that code base. And then slowly they started to understand that, wow, this project is really a bunch of geniuses, and it actually really stands on its legs, and really it is really possible. And it was like a bigger realization, like slowly like delved into it and understood the math, and really it worked out, and it was a big realization. Wow, it's like what's possible, and my fascination and my enthusiasm has not dwindled one bit since, and I'm still really blown away by the idea, and I feel the luckiest guy on earth, to be honest, to work on this project. So I started basically just to contribute as you would to any open source project, like from very early on. It was January 2014, and after half a year when the pre-sale happened, I was lucky enough to be offered a job. Officially, I was one of the first employees of the foundation. But that was through Jeff Wilke, who's building the Go client, and so I became one of the first developers of the Go client. And since then I went through like basically contributing to various bits of the code base, and slowly I kind of honed in on the Swarm project, which I'm currently the main developer of. So what's the blockchain? Let's start with a very short. So blockchain is basically gives you secure computation, and in a sandboxed environment. It has to be sandboxed because exactly every node has to calculate exactly this. It has to reach exactly the same output from the same input. It has to be completely deterministic computation. The generalization of Ethereum, basically general like Turing complete computations, involve storage as well. So you can actually do storage on the blockchain, which means that smart contracts can have their own storage, and they have some persistent layer. However, exactly because these computations, including the storage, have to be replicated on each node in order to be secured, storing data is very expensive. So typically what you want to do is to store only the minimum possible data, ideally just a root hash of some or maybe not so technically speaking, just some digest of a huge data set, just to secure the current state of some database or state of your contract, whatever is relevant. But it has to be very small amount of data, exactly because it's replicated on every computer. It's extremely expensive, and also withdrawing that data is relatively slow. So here's when Swarm comes in, or in general the generic idea of storage becomes a problem. So Swarm is determined to solve that problem, and using peer-to-peer decentralized storage and content delivery techniques and technology. It tries to solve the problem of efficient data retrieval and efficient data distribution. So basically Swarm is the BitTorrent on steroids. I'm not an expert on VM and virtual machines and languages, so obviously I'm not like really an expert developer on the core client. So if you think of Ethereum as the word computer, it's the secured computer over a large peer-to-peer network, then maybe you can say that Swarm is the word hard disk. So it's like one component of this the overall vision of the Ethereum ecosystem. Very early on, the founding fathers of Ethereum realized that this generalized blockchain can be, backbone of the new internet. Basically, they realized that the way people wanted the internet always, like as a decentralized, peer-to-peer network, never actually manifested, never actually materialized, because and the way the web works at the moment, that data is segregated in silos operated by private entities. It's really kind of a broken internet. It's not how we ever imagined it. And although peer-to-peer technologies, including file sharing, you must have heard about Napster, when all it started. These technologies have been existing for 10 to 20 years almost. And there's fantastic research and progress in these fields. It seems that there's a missing piece of the puzzle, and what they always really needed is some sort of incentivization layer, which make the collaboration of peers sustainable and reliable long term. And so it's a fantastic marriage to extend the peer-to-peer technologies with the blockchain, where smart contracts and the accessibility of value and value transfer directly can be a perfect platform to program incentive systems, basically to automate the ways in which peers can collaborate and steer collaboration towards goals and operation that's healthy and conducive to the desired workings of a network. In particular, in terms of a file sharing system, or it's a decentralized storage system, what's really crucial, for example, is to have low latency availability, and for example, for interactive web applications, it's very important that you can download files and basically websites in a reliable fashion with low latency, as well as being a reliable storage, have reliable long-term storage even for unpopular content. And it seems that the blockchain is a perfect platform to program and to implement incentive structures that basically implement exactly that.